Unit 4, Lesson 1, Size of Divisor and Size of Quotient. Number 1, order from smallest to largest. Number of pennies in a stack that is 1 foot high. Number of books in a stack that is 1 foot high. Number of dollar bills in a stack that is 1 foot high. Number of slices of bread in a stack that is 1 foot high. Since most books are thicker than pennies, dollar bills, and slices of bread, there would be fewer number of books in a stack that's 1 foot high. The next fewest in a stack 1 foot high would be slices of bread because they're thicker than both pennies and dollar bills. Pennies are thicker than dollar bills, and the thinnest of them all are the dollar bills. You'd be able to fit more of these in a stack that's 1 foot high. Number 2, use each of the numbers 4, 40, and 4,000 once to make true statements. A. The value of 40 divided by 40 and 1/100th is close to 1. This is true because the dividend and the divisor are close in value. B. The value of 4 divided by 40 and 1/100th is much less than 1. This is true because the value of the dividend is much less than the value of the divisor. C. The value of 4,000 divided by 40 and 1/100th is much greater than 1. This is true because the value of the dividend is much greater than the value of the divisor. Number 3. Without computing, decide whether the value of each expression is much smaller than 1, close to 1, or much greater than 1. A. Much greater, because the value of the dividend is much greater than the value of the divisor. B. Close to 1. This is true because the dividend and the divisor are fairly close in value. C. Close to 1. Again, because the dividend and the divisor are close in value. D. Much smaller. This is true because its dividend is very small compared to its large divisor. D. Much greater, because its dividend is very large and its divisor is much smaller. F. Much smaller than 1 because its dividend is very small compared to its very large divisor. Number 4. A rocking horse has a weight limit of 60 pounds. A. What percentage of the weight limit is 33 pounds? I made a double number line and I know that 60 pounds is 100% of the weight limit. And the question was, what percentage of the weight limit is 33 pounds? 60 pounds divided by 60 equals 1 pound. 100% divided by 60 equals 100 over 60. I can reduce 100/60ths by making the 100 10 times smaller and by making the 60 10 times smaller. And that becomes 10 over 6, or 10/6. They're asking what percentage of the weight limit is 33 pounds. So I need to multiply the 1 pound times 33. So 1 pound times 33 equals 33 pounds. Now I need to multiply 10/6 times 33. And 10/6 times 33 equals 55%. 33 pounds is 55% of the 60-pound weight limit. I'm going to reuse my double number line since I've already divided 60 by 60 to get 1, and I divided 100% by 60 to get 10/6%. So to figure out what percentage of the weight limit is 114 pounds, I have to multiply 1 times 114 to get 114 pounds, and I need to multiply 10/6 times 114, and that is 190%. 114 pounds is 190% of the 60-pound weight limit. C. What weight is 95% of the limit? Well, for problem C, they're giving us the 95% and they're asking us to find the amount of weight that represents. So this time, I'm going to make the 100% into a 1%. So I have to do the same thing to the weight. So 60 times 100th equals 60 over 100, or 6/10. Now I can multiply the 1% times 95 to get 95%. And of course, if I do that to the bottom number line, I need to do that to the top number line. So 6/10 times 95 equals 57 pounds. So 57 pounds is 95% of the 60-pound weight limit. Number 5. Compare using greater than, equal to, or less than symbols. A. 7/10 is equal to 70 hundredths. B. 3 hundredths plus 6/10 is greater than 30 hundredths plus 6 hundredths. C. 9/10 is greater than 12 hundredths. Number 6. Diego has 90 songs on his playlist. How many songs are there for each genre? A. 40% rock. I made a double number line with 90 songs represented directly above 100%. Next, go ahead and turn that 100% into 1%. I chose to multiply it by 1 over 100. And next, I have to multiply 90 by 1 over 100, which gives me 90 hundredths, or 90 over 100. Remember, 90 hundredths is equivalent to 9/10. I need to multiply 1% times 40 to get 40%, and I need to multiply 9/10 by 40, and that gives me 36. His playlist consists of 36 songs from the rock genre that equals 40% of his 90 songs. B. 10% country. I'll go ahead and use the same double number line again, only this time I'm going to multiply 100% by 1/10. That would give me 10%. Next, I multiply 90 by 1/10, and that gives me 9. Diego has 9 country songs on his playlist. C. 30% hip-hop. I decided to keep the same double number line because I know that I can multiply 10% times 3 to get 30%. And if I multiply 10% by 3, I need to multiply 9 songs by 3. 9 times 3 is 27. Diego has 27 hip-hop songs on his playlist. D. The rest is electronica. Add up the rock, country, and hip-hop songs and you have 72 songs out of 90. Subtract those 72 songs from the 90 songs on his playlist and you have 18 songs in the electronica genre. Number 7. A garden hose emits 9 quarts of water in 6 seconds. At this rate, A. How long will it take the hose to emit 12 quarts? I made a table with the 9 quarts on the left and the 6 seconds on the right. 9 quarts divided by 9 equals 1 quart, and 6 seconds divided by 9 equals 6/9, which is reduced to 2/3. 1 quart times 12 equals 12 quarts, and 2/3 times 12 equals 8. It takes 8 seconds for the hose to emit 12 quarts. B. How much water does the hose emit in 10 seconds? 6 seconds divided by 6 equals 1 second. 9 quarts divided by 6 equals 1.5 quarts. 1 second times 10 equals 10 seconds. And 1.5 quarts times 10 equals 15 quarts. The hose emits 15 quarts in 10 seconds. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 1, Size of Divisor and Size of Quotient. Unit 4, Lesson 2, Meanings of Division. Number 1. 20 pounds of strawberries are being shared equally by a group of friends. The equation 20 divided by 5 equals 4 represents the division of strawberries. A. If the 5 represents the number of people, what does the 4 represent? Here I've drawn 5 stick figures representing the 5 friends who are sharing the strawberries. The 4 would represent 4 pounds of strawberries. Each of the friends gets 4 pounds of strawberries. B. If the 5 represents the pounds of strawberries per person, what does the 4 represent? Here you see 5 pounds of strawberries in 4 different groups. If the 5 represents the pounds of strawberries, then the 4 represents the number of people in the group that are sharing the strawberries. Number 2. A 6th grade science club needs $180 to pay for the tickets to a science museum. All tickets cost the same amount. What could 180 divided by 15 mean in this context? Describe 2 interpretations of the expression, then find the quotient and explain what it means in each interpretation. One interpretation of the expression could be, how many tickets can be purchased with $180 if each ticket costs $15? And the quotient would be 12. You could purchase 12 tickets at $15 each with $180. A second interpretation could be, how much does each ticket cost if $180 buys 15 tickets? The quotient or answer to that expression is $12. You could buy 15 tickets at $12 per ticket with $180. Number 3. Write a multiplication equation that corresponds to each division equation. A. 10 divided by 5 equals what number? A corresponding multiplication equation would be what number times 5 equals 10. B. 4 5/10 divided by 3 equals what number? A corresponding multiplication equation would be what number times 3 equals 4 5/10. C. 1/2 divided by 4 equals what number? A corresponding multiplication equation would be 1/2 of what number equals 4. Number 4. Write a division or multiplication equation that represents each situation. Use a question mark for the unknown quantity. A. 2 5/10 gallons of water are poured into 5 equally sized bottles. How much water is in each bottle? 2 5/10 divided by 5 equals what number? Or 5 times what number equals 2 5/10? B. A large bucket of 200 golf balls is divided into 4 smaller buckets. How many golf balls are in each small bucket? 200 divided by 4 equals what number? Or 4 times what number equals 200? C. 16 socks are put into pairs. How many pairs are there? Reminder, a pair is 2. 16 divided by 2 equals what number? Or what number times 2 equals 16? Number 5. Find a value for A that makes each statement true. A divided by 6 is greater than 1. The value for A must be greater than 6. For example, A equals 7. B. A divided by 6 is equal to 1. A equals 6 because 6 divided by 6 equals 1. C. A divided by 6 is less than 1. Any positive number A less than 6. So A can be any positive number less than 6. For example, A equals 5. D. A divided by 6 is equal to a whole number. A must be a multiple of 6, like 6, 12, or 18. Example, A equals 24. Number 6. Complete the table. Write each percentage as a percent of 1. 1/10 can be written as 1 over 10 and is 10% of 1. 75% can be written as 3/4 or 3/4 and is 75 hundredths. 1/5 or 1 divided by 5 is 2/10 or 20 hundredths, which is 20% of 1. 1 5/10 can be written as 15/10 or 3/2, which is 150% of 1. 140% of 1 could be written as 140 over 100 or 14/10, which is equal to 7/5. And when written as a decimal, it's 1 4/10. Take a moment to compare your table with my table. Number 7. Jada walks a speed of 3 miles per hour. Elena walks at a speed of 2 8/10 miles per hour. If they both begin walking along a walking trail at the same time, how much farther will Jada walk after 3 hours? Explain your reasoning. This blue line will represent the distances that Jada walked each hour. This green line will represent the distances that Elena walked each hour. And this red line will represent each of the 3 hours. 0 hours, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. Since Elena walks at a speed of 2 8/10 miles per hour, we will count by 2 8/10. 0, 2 8/10, 5 6/10, 8 4/10. Since Jada walks at a speed of 3 miles an hour, we'll count by 3. 0, 3, 6, 9. After 3 hours, Jada walked 9 miles and Elena walked 8 4/10 miles. 9 miles minus 8 4/10 miles equals 6/10 of a mile. After 3 hours, Jada walked 6/10 of a mile further than Elena. Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 2, Meanings of Division. Unit 4, Lesson 3, Interpreting Division Situations. Number 1. Write a multiplication equation and a division equation that this diagram could represent. 3 times 18 equals 54, or 18 times 3 equals 54. 54 divided by 18 equals 3, or 54 divided by 3 equals 18. Number 2. Mai has $36 to spend on movie tickets. Each movie ticket costs $4.50. How many tickets can she buy? A. Write a multiplication equation and a division equation to represent this situation. What number times $4.50 equals 36? Or 36 divided by $4.50 equals what amount? Mai can buy 8 movie tickets, and 8 times $4.50 equals 36. $36 can buy 8 tickets at $4.50 each. Number 3. Kieran said that this diagram can show the solution to 16 divided by 8 equals what number, or 16 divided by 2 equals what number, depending on how we think about the equations and the question mark. Explain or show how Kieran is correct. 16 divided by 8 equals what number can be thought of as how many groups of 8 are in 16. And 16 divided by 2 equals what number can be looked at as what is in each group of 16 is divided into 2 equal groups. Number 4. Write a sentence describing a situation that could be represented by the equation 4 divided by 1/3 equals what number? A family shared 4 pizzas for dinner. Each person ate 1 1/3 pizzas. How many people are in the family? Number 5. Noah said, when you divide a number by a second number, the result will always be smaller than the first number. Jada said, I think the result could be larger or smaller depending on the numbers. Do you agree with Noah or Jada? Show or explain your reasoning. I agree with Jada. One example that explains my reasoning is 10 divided by 5/10 equals 20. 20 is larger than 10. If a number is divided by a number that is between 0 and 1, the result is always larger than the first number. Number 6. Mini muffins cost $3 per dozen. Andre says, I have $2 so I can afford 8 muffins. Elena says, I want to get 16 muffins so I'll need to pay $4. Do you agree with either, both, or neither of them? Explain your reasoning. I agree with both because $3 divided by a dozen equals 25 cents, and $2 divided by 25 cents equals 8 muffins, and 16 muffins times 25 cents equals $4. Number 7. A family has a monthly budget of $2,400. How much money is spent on each category? A. 44% is spent on housing. 44 hundredths times 2,400 equals 1,056. So they would spend $1,056 on housing. B. 23% is spent on food. 23 hundredths times 2,400 equals 552. They would spend $552 on food. C. 6% is spent on clothing. 6 hundredths times 2,400 equals 144. They would spend $144 on clothing. D. 17% is spent on transportation. 17 hundredths times 2,400 equals 408. They would spend $408 on transportation. E. The rest is put into savings. If you total up 44% plus 23% plus 6% plus 17%, you'd get 90%. That leaves 10% of 2,400 to go into savings. So 1/10 times 2,400 equals 240. They would put $240 into savings. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 3, Interpreting Division Situations. Unit 4, Lesson 4, How Many Groups, Part 1. Number 1. A shopper buys cat food in bags of 3 pounds. Her cat eats 3/4 of a pound each week. How many weeks does one bag last? A. Draw a diagram to represent the situation and label your diagram so it can be followed by others. Answer the question. B. Write a multiplication or division equation to represent the situation. C. Multiply your answer in the first question by 3/4. Did you get 3 as a result? If not, revise your previous work. Number 2. Use the diagram to answer the question. How many thirds are in 1 2/3? The hexagon represents one whole. Explain or show your reasoning. Number 3. Which question can be represented by the equation what number times 1/8 equals 3? A. How many 3's are in 1/8? B. What is 3 groups of 1/8? C. How many 8ths are in 3? Or D. What is 1/8 of 3? Number 4. Write 2 division equations for each multiplication equation. A. 15 times 2/5 equals 6. That can be written as 6 divided by 2/5 equals 15, and 6 divided by 15 equals 2/5. B. 6 times 4/3 equals 8. That can be written as 8 divided by 6 equals 4/3, and 8 divided by 4/3 equals 6. C. 16 times 7/8 equals 14. That could be written as 14 divided by 16 equals 7/8, and 14 divided by 7/8 equals 16. Number 5. Noah and his friends are going to an amusement park. The total cost of admission for 8 students is $100, and all students share the cost equally. Noah brought $13 for his ticket. Did he bring enough money to get into the park? Explain your reasoning. Number 6. Write a division expression with a quotient that is A. Greater than 8 divided by 1/1000, B. Less than 8 divided by 1/1000, C. Between 8 divided by 1/1000 and 8 divided by 1/10. Number 7. Find each unknown number. For number 1, 150% is 12. Half of 12 is 6. Half of 150 is 75. Exactly halfway between 6 and 12 is 8. And halfway between 75% and 150% is 100%. 8 is 100% of the number. Number 2, 5 is 50% of what number? Well, if we double 50%, we get 100%. So double the 5 and you get 10. 5 is 50% of 10. Number 3, 10% of what number is 300? Well, 10% is worth 300. 10% times 10 is 100%. 300 times 10 is 3,000. 10% of 3,000 is 300. Number 4, 5% of what number is 72? 5% is 72. 5% times 2 is 10%. 72 times 2 is 144. 10% times 10 equals 100%. 144 times 10 equals 1,440. 5% of 1,440 is 72. Number 5. 20 is 80% of what number? Well, we know that 20 is 80% of the number. 20 divided by 20 is 1. 80% divided by 20 is 4%. 4% times 25 is 100%, and 1 times 25 is 25. 20 is 80% of 25. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 4. How many groups? Part 1. Unit 4, Lesson 5. How many groups? Part 2. Number 1. Use the tape diagram to represent and find the value of 1/2 divided by 1/3. Mark up and label the diagram as needed. The blue section represents 1/2, the green section represents 1/3, and 1/3 fits in 1/2 exactly 1 and 1/2 times. So 1/2 divided by 1/3 is 1 and 1/2. Number 2. What is the value of 1/2 divided by 1/3? Use the pattern blocks to represent and find this value. The yellow hexagon represents 1 whole. Explain or show your reasoning. The blue figure would fit inside the yellow shape 3 times, so the blue figure would be worth 1/3. The red figure would fit inside the yellow shape twice, so the red figure would be worth 1/2. And the green figure would fit inside the yellow shape 6 times, so the green figure would be considered 1/6. 1/2 divided by 1/3 equals the number of times the blue shape fits inside the red shape. The blue shape would fit inside the red shape 1 and 1/2 times. Number 3. Use a standard inch ruler to answer each question. Then write a multiplication question and a division equation that answer the question. A. How many halves are in 7? For every 1 inch, there are 2 halves. So for every 7 inches, there are 14 halves. B. How many 3/8 are in 6? I've marked off sections of 3/8, and there's a total of 16 sections of 3/8 in 6. C. How many 5/16 are in 1 and 7/8? I've marked off the sections of 5/16, and there are exactly 6 sections of 5/16 in 1 and 7/8. Number 4. Use the tape diagram to represent and answer the following question. How many 2/5 are in 1 1/2? That's the same as 1 1/2 divided by 2/5. Mark up and label the diagram as needed. I've divided the 1 1/2 up into 2/5. There are 1, 2, 3 whole sections of 2/5, and then what's left is 3/4 of 2/5. So 1 1/2 divided by 2/5 is 3 3/4. 2/5 goes into 1 1/2 2 3/4 times. Number 5. Write a multiplication equation and a division equation to represent each question, statement, or diagram. A. There are 12/4 in 3. That would be 12 times 1/4 equals 3, and 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. B. This diagram could be represented by 1/2 times 4 equals 2, or 2 divided by 1/2 equals 4. C. How many 2/3 are in 6? That would be what number times 2/3 equals 6, or 6 divided by 2/3 equals what number? D. This diagram can be represented by 2/5 times 5 equals 2, or 2 divided by 2/5 equals 5. Number 6. At a farmer's market, 2 vendors sell fresh milk. One vendor sells 2 liters for $3.80, and another vendor sells 1.5 liters for $2.70. What is the better deal? Explain your reasoning. 1.5 liters for $2.70 has a unit rate of 1 liter for $1.80. The better deal is 1.5 liters for $2.70 because that is 1 liter for $1.80 compared to 1 liter for $1.90. 7. A recipe uses 5 cups of flour for every 2 cups of sugar. A. How much sugar is used for 1 cup of flour? So it's a 5:2 ratio, 5 cups of flour for every 2 cups of sugar. Here's a hint. If we could break it down to the unit rate for flour and then the unit rate for cups of sugar, it would make it a lot easier. 5:2 is the same as 2.5:1, and 5:2 is the same as 1:2/5. 5:2 is the same as 1:2/5. So when you use 1 cup of flour, you'll be using 2/5 of a cup of sugar. B. When you're using 1 cup of sugar, you'll be using 2.5 cups of flour, or 2.5 cups of flour. C. How much flour is used with 7 cups of sugar? So a 5:2 ratio is the same as 2.5 cups to 1, which is equal to 17.5 cups to 7, or 17.5 cups to 7. So for every 7 cups of sugar, you'd be using 17.5 cups of flour. D. How much sugar is used with 6 cups of flour? So a 5:2 ratio is the same as 1:2/5, which is equal to 6:2/5. So if you used 6 cups of flour, you'd have to use 2 2/5 cups of sugar. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 5, How Many Groups, Part 2. Unit 4, Lesson 6, Using Diagrams to Find the Number of Groups. Number 1. We can think of 3 divided by 1/4 as the answer to the question, how many groups of 1/4 are in 3? Draw a tape diagram to represent the question, then answer the question. This entire tape diagram represents 3 whole units, and it's been divided up into 12 groups of 1/4. 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. Number 2. Describe how to draw a tape diagram to represent and answer 3 divided by 3/5 equals what number for a friend who was absent. In this tape diagram, I placed groups of 3/5 one after another until I had a total of 15/5, because 15/5 is equal to 3. There are 5 groups of 3/5 in 3, so the answer is 5. Number 3. How many groups of 1/2 days are in 1 week? A. Write a multiplication equation or a division equation to represent the question. What number times 1/2 equals 7? B. Draw a tape diagram to show the relationship between the quantities and to answer the question. Use graph paper if needed. This tape diagram shows that I can fit 14 groups of 1/2 days inside 7 days. Number 4. Diego said that the answer to the question, how many groups of 5/6 are in 1, is 6/5 or 1 1/5. Do you agree with his statement? Explain or show your reasoning. Diego said that there are 6/5 groups of 5/6 in 1, So 6/5 times 5/6 equals 30/30ths, which is equal to 1. So I agree with Diego. Number 5. Select all equations that can represent the question, how many groups of 4/5 are in one? I've narrowed it down to these two. D. What number times 4/5 equals 1? And E. 1 divided by 4/5 equals what number? Number 6. Calculate each percentage mentally. A. What is 10% of 70? Well, 10% of something is 10 times smaller than that number. So what's 10 times smaller than 70? 7. B. What is 10% of 110? Again, what's 10 times smaller than 110? 11. C. What is 25% of 160? 25% is like 1/4. So what's 1/4 of 160? Or what's 160 divided by 4? That's 40. D. What is 25% of 48? Again, 25% is like 1/4. So what's 48 times 1/4 or 48 divided by 4? That would be 12. E. What is 50% of 90? Well, we know 50% would be half of something. So what's half of 90? 45. F. What is 50% of 350? Again, 50% is half of something. So what's 350 divided by 2, or half of 350? That would be 175. G. What is 75% of 300? 75%, well, that's 3 times greater than 25%. So instead of representing 1/4, that's going to represent 3/4. So what's 3/4 of 300? That would be 225. H. What is 75% of 48? 75% of 48 is 36. Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 6, using diagrams to find the number of groups. Hurry, hit it! Unit 4, Lesson 7. What fraction of a group? Number 1. A recipe calls for 1/2 pound of flour for 1 batch. How many batches can be made with each of the following amounts? A. 1 pound. With 1 pound of flour, you'd be able to make 2 batches. B. 3/4 of a pound. With 3/4 of a pound of flour, you'd be able to make 1.5 batches. C. 1/4 of a pound. With 1/4 of a pound of flour, you'd be able to make 1/2 of a batch. Number 2. Whiskers the cat weighs 2 2/3 kilograms. Piglio weighs 4 kilograms. For each question, write a multiplication and a division equation, decide whether the answer is greater or less than 1, and answer the question. A. How many times as heavy as Piglio is Whiskers? This answer is going to be less than 1. The multiplication equation would be what number times 4 equals 2 2/3, and the division equation would be 2 2/3 divided by 4 equals what number? Whiskers is 2/3 as heavy as Piglio. B. How many times as heavy as Whiskers is Piglio? This answer is going to be greater than 1. The multiplication problem would be, what number times 2 2/3 equals 4? And the division problem would be 4 divided by 2 2/3 equals what number? Piglio is 1.5 times as heavy as Whiskers. Number 3. Andre is walking from home to a festival that is 1 5/8 kilometers away. He takes a quick rest after walking 1/3 kilometers. In this situation, which question can be represented by the equation, what number times 1 5/8 equals 1/3? A. What fraction of the trip has Andre completed? This is the sentence that best represents the equation. Number 4. Draw a tape diagram to represent and answer the question. What fraction of 2.5 is 4/5? This entire tape diagram represents 2.5, which is equivalent to 25/10. The shaded section represents 8/10, which is equivalent to 4/5. There are 25/10 total, but only 8 of them are shaded. 8 shaded out of 25 in the group is 8 out of 25, which is 8/25. 4/5 is 8/25 of 2.5. Number 5. How many groups of 3/4 are in each of the following quantities? A. 11/4. Each of these blue boxes represents 1/4, and I've drawn 11 blue boxes representing 11/4. I have 3 sets of 3/4 plus an additional 2 boxes. Each of those boxes is a 1/4, which is 2 out of 3/4, or 2/3 of 3/4. There are 3 2/3 groups of 3/4 in 11/4. Each of these blue boxes represents 1 whole. Each red line represents 1/4. There are 8 2/3 groups of 3/4 in 6.5. Number 6. Which question can be represented by the equation 4 divided by 2/7 equals what number? The answer is B. How many 2/7 are in 4? Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 7. What fraction of a group? Unit 4, Lesson 8. How much in each group? Part 1. Number 1. For each scenario, use the given tape diagram to help you answer the question. Mark up and label the diagram as needed. A. Mai picked 1 cup of strawberries for a cake, which was enough for 3/4 of the cake. How many cups does she need for the whole cake? As you can see in this diagram, the portion in red indicates the amount in 1 cup, and I divided that up into thirds. 3/3 makes 1 whole cup. Well, 3/3 or 1 cup was only enough for 3/4 of a cake. In order to make 1 whole cake, she'd need another 1/3 of a cup of strawberries. So if she picked another 1/3 of a cup of strawberries, she'd have enough for a whole cake. So in all, Mai would need 1 1/3 cups of strawberries to make 1 whole cake. B. Priya has picked 1.5 cups of raspberries, which is enough for 3/4 of a cake. How many cups does she need for the whole cake? The 1.5 cups of raspberries that Priya picked is in blue, and I divided that up into halves. So there's 3 halves in 1.5 cups, and those 3 half cups make 3/4 of a cake. In order to make 1 whole cake, Priya would need another half a cup. To make 1 whole cake, Priya would need 2 cups of raspberries. Number 2. Tyler painted 9 halves square yards of a wall area with 3 gallons of paint. How many gallons of paint does it take to paint each square yard of wall? A. Write multiplication and division equations to represent the situation. 9 halves times what number equals 3? And 3 divided by 9 halves equals what number? B. Draw a diagram to represent the situation and to answer the question. 3 gallons of paint covers 9 halves square yards. It takes 2/3 gallons of paint for each square yard of the wall. 2/3 times 9 halves equals 3. It takes 2/3 gallons for each square yard. Number 3. After walking 1/4 mile from home, Han is 1/3 of his way to school. What is the distance between his home and school? A. Write multiplication and division equations to represent this situation. 1/3 times what number equals 1/4, and 1/4 divided by 1/3 equals what number? B. Use the given diagram to help you answer the question. Mark up and label it as needed. In my diagram, the section colored in red represents a distance of 1/4 of a mile and a distance of 1/3 the way to school. 1/4 divided by 1/3 equals 3/4. The total distance is 3/4 of a mile. Number 4. Here is a division equation. 4/5 divided by 2/3 equals what number? A. Write a multiplication equation that corresponds to the division equation. 2/3 times what number equals 4/5? B. Draw a diagram to represent and answer the question. Out of the 4/5 represented in the blue shaded area, there's another 2/5 needed to form 1 full group. So the answer would be 6/5 are needed for 1 full group. Number 5. A set of books that are each 1 5/10 inches wide are being organized on a bookshelf that is 36 inches wide. How many books can fit on the shelf? A. Write a multiplication equation and a division equation to represent this question. What number times 1 5/10 equals 36, and 36 divided by 1 5/10 equals what number? B. Find the answer. Draw a diagram if needed. 24 books can fit on the shelf because 36 divided by 1 5/10 is 24. C. Use the multiplication equation to check your answer. 24 times 1 5/10 equals 36. Number 6. A. Without calculating, order the expressions based on their values from smallest to largest. 56 divided by 8, 56 divided by 8 million, and 56 divided by 8 millionths. Their values from smallest to largest would be 56 divided by 8 million. Next would be 56 divided by 8. And then finally, the largest value would be 56 divided by 8 millionths. because 8 millionths would go into 56 many more times than 8 would go into 56, or 8 million would go into 56. B. Explain how you decided the order of the three expressions. The dividend, 56, was the same for all of them, so the larger the divisor, the smaller the quotient. C. Find a number n so that 56 divided by n is greater than 1 but less than 7. The value for n could be any number that's less than 56 and greater than 1. For example, if the value for n is 12, the equation is 56 divided by 12 equals 4.66, which is 4 and 66/100ths, and that obviously is greater than 1 and less than 7. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 8, How Much in Each Group, Part 1. Unit 4, Lesson 9, How Much in Each Group, Part 2. Number 1. A group of friends is sharing 2.5 pounds of berries. A. If each friend received 5/4 of a pound of berries, how many friends are sharing the berries? 2 friends would be sharing the berries. 2.5 divided by 5/4 equals 2. B. If 5 friends are sharing the berries, how many pounds of berries does each friend receive? Each friend would receive a 1/2 pound. 2.5 divided by 5 equals 1/2. Number 2. 2/5 kilogram of soil fills 1/3 of a container. Can 1 kilogram of soil fit in the container? Explain or show your reasoning. More than 1 kilogram can fit because 3 times 2/5 equals 6/5. 6/5 is more than 1 kilogram. 6/5 is equal to 1 1/5 kilogram. Number 3. After raining for 3/4 of an hour, a rain gauge is 2/5 filled. If it continues to rain at that rate for 15 more minutes, what fraction of the rain gauge will be filled? A. To help answer this question, Diego wrote the division equation 3/4 divided by 2/5 equals what number? Explain why this equation does not represent the situation. This equation would overfill it in an hour. 3/4 divided by 2/5 is greater than 1. After 3/4 of an hour, the gauge was only 2/5 full. B. Write a multiplication equation and a division equation that does represent the situation. 3/4 times what number equals 2/5, and 2/5 divided by 3/4 equals what number? Number 4. 3 tickets to the museum cost $12.75. At this rate, what is the cost of A. 1 ticket and B. 5 tickets? 4A. $12.75 divided by 3 equals $4.25. So 1 ticket would cost $4.25. 4B. $4.25 times 5 equals $21.25. 5 tickets would cost $21.25. Number 5. Elena went 60 meters in 15 seconds. Noah went 50 meters in 10 seconds. Elena and Noah both moved at a constant speed. A. How far did Elena go in 1 second? 60 meters divided by 15 seconds equals 4. Elena went 4 meters in 1 second. B. How far did Noah go in 1 second? 50 meters divided by 10 seconds equals 5 meters. Noah went 5 meters in 1 second. C. Who went faster? Explain or show your reasoning. Noah ran a greater distance in 1 second than she did, so Noah ran faster. 5 meters is greater than 4 meters. Number 6. The first row in the table shows a recipe for 1 batch of trail mix. Complete the remaining rows with recipes for 2, 3, and 4 batches of the same type of trail mix. The number of batches column will increase by 1 each time. 1, 2, 3, 4. The cups of cereal column will increase by 2. That would be 2, 4, 6, 8. The cups of almonds will increase by 1/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. The cups of raisins will increase by 1/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 9, How Much in Each Group, Part 2. Unit 4, Lesson 10, Dividing by Unit and Non-Unit Fractions. Number 1. Priya is sharing 24 apples equally with some friends. She uses division to determine how many people can have a share if each person gets a particular number of apples. For example, 24 divided by 4 equals 6, means that if each person gets 4 apples, 6 people can have apples. Here are some other calculations. 24 divided by 4 equals 6. 24 divided by 2 equals 12. 24 divided by 1 equals 24. And 24 divided by a half equals question mark. A. Priya thinks the question mark represents a number less than 24. Do you agree? Explain or show your reasoning. I don't agree. A half is half the size of 1. So a half will fit into 24 twice as many times as 1. 24 divided by 1/2 equals 48. Since 24 divided by 1 is 24, 24 divided by a half is 48. B. In the case of 24 divided by a half equals question mark, how many people can have apples? There is a pattern. 24 divided by 4 equals 6. 24 divided by 2 equals 12. 24 divided by 1 equals 24. And 24 divided by a half equals 48. So 48 people could have some apple. Number 2. Here is a centimeter ruler. A. Use the ruler to find 1 divided by 1/10 and 4 divided by 1/10. 1 divided by 1/10 equals 10. There's 10 tenths in one whole. Use the ruler to find 4 divided by 1/10. In 1, there's 10 groups of tenths. So in 4, it would be 4 times 10 groups of tenths. So 4 divided by 1/10 is 40. B. What calculation did you do each time? Each centimeter has 10 millimeters, so I multiplied the dividend by 10 for each of the above problems. C. Use your work from the first part to find each quotient. 18 divided by 1/10. There are 180 tenths in 18. 18 divided by 1/10 equals 18 times 10, or 180. 4 divided by 2/10. There are 20 sets of 2/10 in 4. 4 divided by 2/10 equals 20. 4 divided by 8/10. There are 5 sets of 8/10 in 4. 4 divided by 8/10 equals 5. Number 3. Find each quotient. A. 5 divided by 1/10. 5 divided by 1/10 equals 50 over 1, or 50. 5 divided by 3/10. 5 divided by 3/10 is 50 thirds, or 16 2/3. 5 divided by 9/10. 5 divided by 9/10 is 50 ninths, or 5 5/9. Number 4. Use the fact that 2½ divided by 1/8 equals 20 to find 2½ divided by 5/8. Explain or show your reasoning. 2½ divided by 1/8 equals 20. 2½ divided by 5/8 equals 4. 5/8 is 5 times larger than 1/8, so the number of groups decrease by a factor of 5. Number 5. It takes 1 week for a crew of workers to pave 3/5 kilometer of road. At that rate, how long will it take to pave 1 kilometer? Write a multiplication equation and a division equation that represents the question and then answer the question. Show your reasoning. 3/5 times what number equals 1, and 1 divided by 3/5 equals 5/3, which is equal to 1 2/5. At that rate, it would take 1 2/5 weeks to pave 1 kilometer. Take a look at the diagram. The work that was completed in 1 week was 3/5 of a kilometer, so I divided that week up into thirds. Shaded in green, you have 3 sections of 1/3 of a week. It would take 2 more sections of 1/3 of a week to complete 1 full kilometer. That's a total of 5/3 of a week. Number 6. A box contains 1 3/4 pounds of pancake mix. Jada used 7/8 pound for a recipe. What fraction of the pancake mix in the box did she use? Explain or show your reasoning. Draw a diagram if needed. The box contains 1 3/4 pounds of pancake mix. 1 3/4 is the same as 1 6/8. And I can take that 1 pound and turn it into 8/8. 8/8 plus 6/8 equals 14/8. Now those 14/8 can be compared to the 7/8 of a pound that she used. 14/8 minus 7/8 equals 7/8. Since 7 is half of 14, she used half of the mix. So 7/8 of the mix was used. Number 7. Calculate each percentage mentally. A. 25% of 400. Well, 25% is like 1/4. So 400 divided by 4 is 100. B. 50% of 90. We know that 50% is half, so what's half of 90? 45. C. 75% of 200. Well, 75% is 3 times 25%. And 25% is a fourth. So what's a fourth of 200? 50. 50 times 3 is 150. D, 10% of 8,000. 10% is something that's 10 times smaller. So what's 10 times smaller than 8,000? 800. E, 5% of 20. Well, I know 5% of 100 is 5, and 20 is 5 times smaller than 100. So if 5% of 100 is 5, then what's 5 times smaller than 5? 1. Another way to think about E, 5% of 20, is I know 10% of 20 is 2, and 5% is half of 10%. So what's half of 2? 1. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 10, dividing by unit and non-unit fractions. Unit 4, Lesson 11, using an algorithm to divide fractions. Number 1, select all statements that show correct reasoning for finding 14/15 divided by 7/5. A, 14/15 times 5 times 1/7, and D, 14/15 times 5 divided by 7. Number 2, Claire said that 4/3 divided by 5/2 is 10/3. She reasoned 4/3 times 5 equals 20/3, and 20/3 divided by 2 equals 10/3. Explain why Claire's answer and reasoning are incorrect. Find the correct quotient. She multiplied 4/3 times 5 by mistake. 4/3 divided by 5/2 is the same as 4/3 times 2 divided by 5, or 4/3 times 2/5, and the answer is 8/15. Number 3, find the value of 15/4 divided by 5/8. Show your reasoning. To make this one a little easier, I decided to make the denominator 4 into an 8. So I'd be dealing with the common denominator of 8. 15/4 is the same as 30/8. 30/8 divided by 5/8 is 6. There are 6 groups of 5/8 in 30/8. Number 4. Kieran has 2 3/4 pounds of flour. When he divides the flour into equal-sized bags, he fills 4 1/8 bags. How many pounds fit in each bag? Write a multiplication equation and a division equation to represent the question, and then answer the question. Show your reasoning. 2 3/4 represents the total pounds of flour. 4 1/8 represents the number of bags filled, and the question mark represents the number of pounds in each bag. 2 3/4 divided by 4 1/8 equals the number of pounds in each bag. 2 3/4 is the same as 11/4, which is also equal to 22/8 if you wanted to have a common denominator of 8. 4 1/8 is equal to 33/8. So we can rewrite this equation as 22/8 divided by 33/8 equals question mark. 22/8 times 8/33 is equal to 22/33, which can be reduced to 2/3. There are 2/3 groups of 4 1/8 in 2 3/4. Number 5. Divide 4½ by the following unit fractions. A. 1/8. 4½ is the same as 9/2. 9/2 divided by 1/8 equals 36/1, which is the same as 36. There are 36 groups of 1/8 in 4½ B. 1/4. 4½ divided by 1/4 equals what number? Again, 4½ is the same as 9/2. 9/2 divided by 1/4 equals what number? 9/2 times 4/1 equals 18/1, which is the same as 18. There are 18 groups of 1/4 in 4½ C. 1/6. 4½ divided by 1/6 equals what number? Again, 4½ is equal to 9/2. 9/2 divided by 1/6 equals 9/2 times 6/1, which is equal to 27/1. 27/1 is the same as 27. There are 27 groups of 1/6 in 4½ Number 6. After charging for 1/3 of an hour, a phone is at 2/5 of its full power. How long will it take the phone to charge completely? Decide whether each equation can represent the situation. I've narrowed it down to these two. B. 1/3 divided by 2/5 equals what number? And D. 2/5 of what number equals 1/3? Number 7. Elena and Noah are each filling a bucket with water. Noah's bucket is 2/5 full and the water weighs 2½ pounds. How much does Elena's bucket weigh if her bucket is full and her bucket is identical to Noah's? A. Write multiplication and division equations to represent the question. 2/5 times what number equals 2½? And 2½ divided by 2/5 equals what number? B. Draw a diagram to show the relationship between the quantities and to answer the question. Since 2/5 of a bucket weighed 2½ pounds, I divided the bucket up into 5 sections for fifths, and inside each of the first 2/5 I put 1 1/4 pound. In order to fill the entire bucket, we would have to have 1 1/4 pound in each of the fifths, and that would total 6 1/4 pound, or 6 1/4 pounds. Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 11, using an algorithm to divide fractions. Unit 4, Lesson 12, Fractional Lengths. Number 1. 1 inch is around 2 11/20 centimeters. A. How many centimeters long is 3 inches? Show your reasoning. 3 inches is just about 7 centimeters and 6 millimeters, which is 7 6/10 centimeters. So 3 inches is just about 7 6/10 millimeters. Here's another way to find out how many centimeters are in 3 inches. Since 1 inch is around 2 11 centimeters, 3 inches would be 3 times greater. 2 11/20 times 3 equals 6 33/20, or 7 13/20. There are just about 7 11/20 centimeters in 3 inches. B. What fraction of an inch is 1 centimeter? Show your reasoning. What fraction of an inch is 1 centimeter? Since 1 inch is around 2 and 11 centimeters, the question is also, what fraction of 2 and 11/20 is 1? So what fraction of 2 and 11/20 is 1? Use 51/20 to represent 2 and 11/20. What number times 51/20 equals 1? Or 1 divided by 51/20 equals what number? Or 1 times 20 over 51 equals 20 over 51. So 20 over 51 represents the fraction of an inch that a centimeter represents. Number 1C. What question can be answered by finding 10 divided by 2 and 11/20? 10 divided by 2 and 11/20 could be asking, how many inches are in 10 centimeters? Number 2. A zookeeper is 6 1/4 feet tall. A young giraffe in his care is 9 3/8 feet tall. A. How many times as tall as the zookeeper is the giraffe? 9 3/8 represents the height of the giraffe divided by 6 1/4, which represents the height of the zookeeper. 9 3/8 divided by 6 1/4 is 75/8 divided by 25/4, which is the same as 75/8 times 4/25. Simplified, that becomes 3/2 times 1/1, which is 3/2, or 1 1/2. The giraffe is 1 1/2 times as tall as the zookeeper. B. What fraction of the giraffe's height is the zookeeper's height? 6 1/4 divided by 9 3/8 equals 25/4 divided by 75/8, which is the same thing as 25/4 times 8/75, and that can be simplified as 1/1 times 2/3, which equals 2/3. The zookeeper is 2/3 the height of the giraffe. Number 3. A rectangular bathroom floor is covered with square tiles that are 1 1/2 feet by 1 1/2 feet. The length of the bathroom floor is 10 1/2 feet and the width is 6 1/2 feet. A. How many tiles does it take to cover the length of the floor? The length of the bathroom floor divided by the length of the tiles is 10 1/2 divided by 1 1/2, or 21/2 divided by 3/2. In the next step, we multiply 21/2 times 2/3, which can be simplified to 7/1 times 1/1, which is 7. You would need 7 tiles to tile the length of the bathroom floor. B. How many tiles does it take to cover the width of the floor? The width of the bathroom is 6 1/2 divided by the width of the tiles at 1 1/2. 6 1/2 divided by 1 1/2 equals 13/2 divided by 3/2. The next step would be 13/2 times 2/3. That could also be simplified to be 13/1 times 1/3. 13/1 times 1/3 equals 13/3, or 4 1/3. It would take 4 1/3 tile to tile the width of the bathroom floor. Number 4. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, recommends a certain amount of nutrition intake per day called the daily value. Food labels usually show percentages of the daily values for several different nutrients, calcium, iron, vitamins, etc. In 3/4 cups of oatmeal, there is 1/10 of the recommended daily value of iron. What fraction of the daily recommended value of iron is in 1 cup of oatmeal? Write a multiplication equation and a division equation to represent the question, and then answer the question. Show your reasoning. 3/4 times what number equals 1/10? That could be written as a division problem as well. 1/10 divided by 3/4 equals what number? 1/10 divided by 3/4 equals 1/10 times 4/3, and that equals 4/30 or 2/15. 1 cup of oatmeal would provide 2/15 of the daily value of iron. Number 5. What fraction of 1/2 is 1/3? Draw a tape diagram to represent and answer the question. Use graph paper if needed. On this graph paper, I've colored in 6 squares, 4 of them green and 2 of them yellow. All 6 of them would represent one group of 1/2. The 4 green squares represents 1/3 and 2/3 of 1/2. 1/3 would represent 2/3 of 1/2. 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6 can be simplified to 2/3. Number 6. Noah says there are 2.5 groups of 4/5 in 2. Do you agree with his statement? Draw a tape diagram to show your reasoning. Use graph paper if needed. On this graph paper, I've colored in every square. There are 4 blue squares colored in, 4 yellow squares colored in, and 2 green squares colored in. All the squares together represents 2. The first group, the blue group, is one group of 4/5. The next group, the yellow group, is one group of 4/5. And the last group, the green group, there's only 2 out of 4, which represents 1/2 of a group of 4/5. There are 2.5 groups of 4/5 in 2. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 12, Fractional Lengths. Unit 4, Lesson 13, Rectangles with Fractional Side Lengths. Number 1. Find the unknown side length of the rectangle if its area is 11 meters squared. Show your reasoning. 11 divided by 3 2/3 is the same as 11 divided by 11/3, and 11 times 3/11. 11 times 3/11 is 33/11 or 3. The missing side length is 3 meters. B. Check your answer by multiplying it by the given side length, 3 2/3. Is the resulting product 11? If not, revisit your work for the first question. 3 times 3 2/3 is the same as 3 times 11/3, and that equals 33/3. And 33/3, or 33 divided by 3, equals 11. So yes, the product is 11. Number 2. A worker is tiling the floor of a rectangular room that is 12 feet by 15 feet. The tiles are square with side lengths of 1 1/3 feet. How many tiles are needed to cover the entire floor? Show your reasoning. 12 feet times 15 feet equals 180 feet squared. The area of the tile is 16/9, so 180 divided by 16/9, or 180 over 1 divided by 16/9 equals 180 times 9/16, or 45 times 9/4, which equals 101 1/4. You would need 102 tiles, or exactly 101 1/4 tiles to cover the floor. Number 3. A television screen has a length of 16 1/2 inches, width W inches, and area 462 square inches. Select all equations that represent the relationship of the side lengths and the area of the television. We'll be looking for a width times length equals area, a length times width equals area, or area divided by width equals length, and area divided by length equals width. B. 16.5 times width equals 462. C. 462 divided by 16.5 equals W. D. 462 divided by W equals 16.5. Number 4. The area of a rectangle is 17.5 inches squared, and its shorter side is 3.5 inches. Draw a diagram that shows this information. What is the length of the longer side? Inside represents the area, 17.5 inches squared. Its shorter side is 3.5 inches. 17.5 divided by 3.5 is the same as 35 halves divided by 7 halves, and that equals 5. That was easy to do because the common denominators were the same. Both fractions had a 2 at the bottom, so 35 divided by 7 is 5. Or we could have done 35 halves times 2 over 7, which is also equal to 5. The longer side length is 5 inches. Number 5. A bookshelf is 42 inches long. A. How many books of length 1.5 inches will fit on the bookshelf? Explain your reasoning. This represents the length of a 42-inch bookshelf. On the top, I have 1.5 inch long books times what number equals 42 inches, or 42 inches divided by 1.5 inch long books equals what number? The easiest one would be 42 divided by 3 halves equals, that would be the same as 42 times 2/3 equals 84 thirds. And of course, 84 thirds is the same as 84 divided by 3, which is 28. 28 books would fit on the bookshelf. B. A bookcase has 5 of these bookshelves. How many feet of shelf space is there? Explain your reasoning. 42 inches equals how many feet? 42 inches divided by 12 inches, since there's 12 inches in 1 foot. That gives me 3.5 feet. The bookshelf's length is 3.5 feet. Now multiply 3.5 feet times 5. That's the same as multiplying 7 halves times 5. 7 halves times 5 is 35 halves, which is the same as 35 divided by 2. And 35 divided by 2 equals 17.5. 5 bookshelves would have 17.5 feet of shelf space. Number 6, find the value of 5 over 32 divided by 25 over 4. Show your reasoning. 5 over 32 divided by 25 over 4 is the same as 5 over 32 times 4 over 25. Now I notice that this can be simplified. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 32 divided by 4 is 8. Now multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 8 times 5 is 40. The value of 5 over 32 divided by 25 fourths is 1/40. Number 7. How many groups of 1 and 2/3 are in each of the following quantities? A. 1 and 5/6. That would be 1 and 5/6 divided by 1 and 2/3 equals what number? I can rewrite that as 11/6 divided by 5/3 equals what number? 11/6 divided by 5/3 is the same as 11/6 times 3/5. Again, I can simplify. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Multiply straight across. 11 times 1 is 11. 2 times 5 is 10, which equals 11/10 or 1 and 1/10. 1 and 2/3 goes into 1 and 5/6, exactly 1 and 1/10 times. B. How many groups of 1 and 2/3 are in 4 and 1/3? 4 and 1/3 divided by 1 and 2/3 equals what number? That's the same as 13/3 divided by 5/3. 13/3 divided by 5/3 can be rewritten as 13/3 times 3/5. Again, here I notice I can simplify. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 13 times 1 is 13, and 1 times 5 is 5. So I get 13/5. And as you know, 13/5 is the same as 13 divided by 5, which equals 2 3/5. 1 2/3 goes in 4 1/3 exactly 2 3/5 times. C. How many groups of 1 2/3 are in 5/6? 5/6 divided by 1 2/3 equals what number? That could be rewritten as 5/6 divided by 5/3, which is the same as 5/6 times 3/5. I can simplify. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 6 twice, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 5 once. Now I multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, and that equals 1/2. 1 2/3 goes in 5/6 exactly 1/2 times, or just halfway. Number 8. It takes 1 1/4 minutes to fill a 3-gallon bucket of water with a hose. At this rate, how long does it take to fill a 50-gallon tub? If you get stuck, consider using the table. There's a lot of ways to do this problem, but I decided to convert the minutes into seconds. So 1 minute equals 60 seconds, and the 1/4 of a minute equals 15 seconds. So my conversion tells me that 1 1/4 minute equals 75 seconds. Now I've rewritten the information to help me answer the question. It takes 75 seconds to fill 3 gallons. I've decided to make a table. On the left column it shows seconds, on the right column it shows gallons. Right now it shows that it takes 75 seconds to fill up 3 gallons. What I'd like to do is figure out how many seconds it would take to fill up 1 gallon. So 3 gallons divided by 3 equals 1. Since I've made the right-hand column 3 times smaller, I'll also have to make the left-hand column 3 times smaller. 75 divided by 3 is 25. Now I know that it takes 25 seconds to fill 1 gallon. They asked the question, how much time does it take to fill 50 gallons? So I need to make sure that this number on the right-hand column is a 50. I'm able to multiply the 1 times 50 to make 50, and now I need to do the same thing on the left-hand side. 25 times 50 gives me 1,250. We're not done yet, but we do know that to fill 50 gallons, it's going to take 1,250 seconds. Since the question asked how many minutes, we need to change the seconds back to minutes. Since there are 60 seconds in a minute, we will find out how many groups of 60 are in 1,250. 1,250 divided by 60, which equals, in decimal value, 20 83/100ths with the 3 repeating, or as a fraction, 125/6. At this rate, it will take 20 83/100ths minutes to fill a 50-gallon tub. Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 13, Rectangles with Fractional Side Lengths. Unit 4, Lesson 14, Fractional Lengths in Triangles and Prisms. Number 1. Claire is using little wooden cubes with edge length 1/2 inch to build a larger cube that has edge length 4 inches. How many little cubes does she need? Explain your reasoning. This drawing represents an edge length of 4 inches. It has markings every 1/2 inch. There are a total of 8 1/2-inch sections that fit into the 4-inch edge line. This drawing represents the height, width, and length of the cube, each 4 inches in length, with 8 sections of 1/2 inches fitting inside each 4-inch edge line. 8 times 8 times 8 equals 512. To make a cube with 4-inch edge lengths, Claire would need 512 1/2-inch cubes. Number 2. The triangle has an area of 7 7/8 centimeters squared and a base of 5 1/4 centimeters. What is the length of H? Explain your reasoning. The area of a rectangle is 1/2 of base times height. In this case, the area is 7 7/8 centimeters squared, and the base is 5 1/4 centimeters. The height is unknown. Here I show half of the base. Since the area was in eighths, I'm going to make the base in eighths as well. First, I'm going to cut 5 in half. Half of 5 is 2 4/8. Now I'm going to cut the 1/4 in half. Half of 1/4 is 1/8. Adding them together, I get 2 5/8. The area of 7 7/8 is equal to 2 5/8 times height. The area 7 7/8 can be represented as 63/8, and the base 2 5/8 can be represented as 21/8. 63/8 divided by 21/8 will equal the height. To find that answer, we'll multiply by the reciprocal of 21/8. 63/8 times 8/21 will equal the height. And 63/8 times 8/21 equals 3. The height of the triangle is 3 centimeters. Number 3A. Which of the following expressions can be used to find how many cubes with edge length of 1/3 unit fit in a prism that is 5 units by 5 units by 8 units? Explain or show your reasoning. Cubes with the edge length of 1/3 unit would be small enough to fit 3 cubes in each unit. So I selected 5 times 3 times 5 times 3 times 8 times 3. Which, by the way, turns out to be 5,400 cubes. B. My says that we can also find the answer by multiplying the edge lengths of the prism and then multiplying the result by 27. Do you agree with her statement? Explain your reasoning. I agree. My is correct because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So 5 times 5 times 8 times 3 times 3 times 3 equals 5,400, just like 5 times 5 times 8 times 27 equals 5,400. Remember, when multiplying, the order doesn't matter. We could even do 5 times 3 times 5 times 3 times 8 times 3, and we'd still get 5,400. Number 4. A builder is building a fence with 6 1/4 inch wide wooden boards arranged side by side with no gaps. How many boards are needed to build a fence that is 150 inches long? Show your reasoning. 150 inches long divided by boards that are 6 1/4 inches wide can be written as 150 divided by 25/4. And to find this answer, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 25/4. 150 times 4/25, and 150 times 4/25 equals 24. 24 boards are needed. Number 5. Find the value of each expression. Show your reasoning and check your answer. A. 2 1/7 divided by 2 sevenths. 2 1/7 can be written as 15 sevenths. 15 sevenths divided by 2 sevenths can be answered by multiplying by the reciprocal of 2 sevenths. 15 sevenths times 7/2 equals 15 halves, or 7 1/2. B. 17 20ths divided by 1/4. That can be answered by multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/4. 17 20ths times 4/1. 17 20ths times 4/1 equals 17 fifths, or 3 2/5. Number 6. A bucket contains 11 2/3 gallons of water and is 5/6 full. How many gallons of water would be in a full bucket? Write a multiplication and a division equation to represent the situation, and then find the answer. Show your reasoning. 5/6 times what number equals 11 2/3? 11 2/3 divided by 5/6 equals what number? And we can find the answer by multiplying by the reciprocal of 5/6 and by representing 11 2/3 as 35 thirds. 35 thirds times 6 fifths equals 14. Number 7. There are 80 kids in a gym. 75% are wearing socks. How many are not wearing socks? If you get stuck, consider using a tape diagram showing sections that each represent 25% of the kids in the gym. If 25% of the kids are not wearing socks, then 1/4 of the kids are not wearing socks, since 25% is the same as 1/4. And 1/4 of 80 is 1/4 times 80. And 1/4 times 80 is 20. 20 people out of 80 are not wearing socks. Number 8. A. Lynn wants to save $75 for a trip to the city. If she has saved $37.50 so far, what percentage of her goal has she saved? What percentage remains? 100% of her goal is $75. She has already saved $37.50, and I noticed that that's half of 75. 75 divided by 2 equals $37.50. So I need to divide the 100% by 2. 100 divided by 2 equals 50. So $37.50 represents 50% of her goal. She has saved 50% of her goal, and 50% remains. B. Noah wants to save $60 so that he can purchase a concert ticket. If he has saved $45 so far, what percentage of his goal has he saved? What percentage remains? 100% of his goal is $60. So far he saved $45. This chart shows that $45 is 75% of his goal. He has saved 75% of his goal and 25% remains. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 14, Fractional Lengths in Triangles and Prisms. Unit 4, Lesson 15, Volume of Prisms. Number 1. A pool in the shape of a rectangular prism is being filled with water. The length and width of the pool is 24 feet and 15 feet. If the height of the water in the pool is 1 1/3 feet, what is the volume of the water in cubic feet? This drawing represents the rectangular prism that's being filled. 24 feet long, 15 feet wide, and 1 1/3 feet deep. 24 feet times 15 feet times 1 1/3 is the same as 360 times 1 1/3, or 360 times 4/3. 460 times 4/3 equals 480 cubic feet. Number 2. A rectangular prism measures 2 2/5 inches by 3 1/5 inches by 2 inch. A. Priya said it takes more cubes with edge length 2/5 inch than cubes with edge length 1/5 inch to pack the prism. Do you agree with Priya's statement? Explain or show your reasoning. I disagree. 2/5 inch is twice as large as 1/5 inch. B. How many cubes with edge length 1/5 inch fit in the prism? Show your reasoning. 2 2/5 times 3 1/5 times 2 divided by 1/5 is the same as 12/5 times 16/5 times 2 times 5. 1,920 cubes with edge length of 1/5 inch would fit inside the rectangular prism. C. Explain how you can use your answer in the previous question to find the volume of the prism in cubic inches. Here's an example of a 1-inch cube. As you can see in green, there's 5 groups of 1/5 edge lengths stacked across one edge length. There are 125 of these 1/5 edge length cubes in a 1-inch cube. The answer from the previous question was 1,920. So 1,920 divided by 125 equals 15 36/100. The volume of the rectangular prism is 15 36/100 cubic inches. Number 3. A. Here is a right triangle. What is its area? I've flipped that same triangle on its side so that you can recognize it as a right triangle. To find the area of a triangle, you're going to multiply 1/2 times its base times height, or 1/2 times height times base. Here I have it, 1/2 of 1 times 3/4. So the area is 1/2 times 3/4, which is 3/8 centimeters squared. B. What is the height, h, for the base that is 5/4 units long? Show your reasoning. Remember, to find the area of a triangle, you have to multiply 1/2 the base times the height. And here, the height is unknown. So we have 1/2 times 5/4 times h. We know that the area is 3/8. So 3/8 equals 5/8 times h. 3/8 equals 5/8 times h. That's the same as 3/8 divided by 5/8 equals h, or 3/8 times the reciprocal of 5/8, which is 8/5. So 3/8 times 8/5 equals 3/5. The height is 3/5 centimeters. Number 4. To give their animals essential minerals and nutrients, farmers and ranchers often have a block of salt called salt lick available for their animals to lick. A. A rancher is ordering a box of cube-shaped salt licks. The edge lengths of each salt lick are 5/12 of a foot. Is the volume of one salt lick greater or less than 1 cubic foot? Explain your reasoning. Less than 1 cubic foot, because 5/12 times 5/12 times 5/12 equals 125 over 1,728, which is less than 1. B. The box that contains the salt lick is 1 1/4 feet by 1 2/3 feet by 5/6 feet. How many cubes of salt lick fit in the box? Explain or show your reasoning. 1 1/4 times 1 2/3 times 5/6 equals the volume of the box. That's the same as 5/4 times 5/3 times 5/6 equals the volume of the box. The volume is 125 over 72. The volume of the large box is 125 over 72, divided by the volume of each cube, 125 over 1,728. We can find the answer to this division problem by multiplying by the reciprocal of 125 over 1,728. The answer is 24 cubes. 24 cubes fit in the box. Number 5. A. How many groups of 1/3 inch are in 3/4 inch? 3/4 inch divided by 1/3 inch equals 3/4 times the reciprocal of 1/3, which equals 9/4 or 2 1/4. B. How many inches are in 1 2/5 groups of 1 2/3 inches? 1 2/5 times 1 2/3 equals 7/5 times 5/3, which equals 35/15 or 2 5/15, or 2 1/3. Here's another way to do it. 7/5 times 5/3, but you simplify it first. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 5 once. 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 3 is 3. 7 over 3, or 2 1/3. There are 2 1/3 inches in 1 2/5 groups of 1 2/3 inches. Number 6. Here is a table that shows the ratio of flour to water in an art paste. Complete the table with values and equivalent ratios. On the left-hand column, I noticed that they went from a 1 to a 4. So they had multiplied the 1 times 4 to make 4. So I multiplied on the right-hand column 1/2 times 4, and that gave me 2. Then I noticed that they went from a 4 in the left-hand column to a 1/2 in the left-hand column. So 4 divided by 8 equals 1/2. I needed to do the same to the 2 in the right-hand column. So 2 divided by 8 equals 2/8 or 1/4. And finally, on the right-hand column, they went from 1/2 to 3. So I multiplied the 1/2 times 6 to get 3. And on the left-hand column, I multiplied the 1 times 6 to get 1. Congratulations, you have completed Unit 4, Lesson 15, Volume of Prisms. Unit 4, Lesson 16, Solving Problems Involving Fractions. Number 1. An orange has about 1/4 cup of juice. How many oranges are needed to make 2½ cups of juice? Select all equations that represent this question. I selected A, what number times 1/4 equals 2½ and D, 2½ divided by 1/4 equals what number? Number 2. Mai, Claire, and Tyler are hiking from a parking lot to the summit of a mountain. They pass a sign that gives distances. The first sign says parking lot, 3/4 of a mile. The second sign says summit, 1½ miles. Mai says, we are 1/3 of the way there. Claire says, we have to go twice as far as we have already gone. And Tyler says, the total hike is 3 times as long as what we have already gone. Can they all be correct? Explain how you know. Mai says, we're 1/3 of the way there. And if you look at this number line, you'll see the location of the signs is at the 3/4 of a mile mark, which is 1/3 of their trip. They still have 2/3 to go before they reach the summit. Claire says, we have to go twice as far as we have already gone. And if you look at the number line, it's been divided up into 1/4 of a mile. The location of the signs is at 3/4, that's where they're standing now, and they need to go an additional 6/4 before they reach the summit. 6/4 is twice as far as 3/4. Tyler says the total hike is 3 times as long as what we have already gone. If you look at the number line, you'll see it's divided up into 4ths. They've already traveled 3/4 of a mile, and the total trip to the summit is 9/4 of a mile. 9/4 of a mile is 3 times as long as 3/4 of a mile. Yes, all 3 of them can be correct. Number 3. Priya's cat weighs 5½ pounds and her dog weighs 8 1/4 pounds. Estimate the missing number in each statement before calculating the answer. Then compare your answer to the estimate and explain any discrepancy. A. The cat is 2/3 as heavy as the dog. B. Their combined weight is 13 3/4 pounds. C. The dog is 2 3/4 pounds heavier than the cat. The weight of the cat, 5½ pounds, divided by the weight of the dog, 8 1/4 pounds, equals 11 halves divided by 33/4, which equals 11 halves times the reciprocal of 33/4, and that equals 2/3. The cat is 2/3 as heavy as the dog. The weight of the cat, 5½ pounds, plus the weight of her dog, 8 1/4 pounds, equals 11 halves plus 33/4. With a common denominator, that's the same as 22/4 plus 33/4, which equals 55/4 or 55 divided by 4, which is 13 3/4 pounds. The weight of her dog, 8 1/4 pound, minus the weight of her cat, 5 1/2 pounds, is the same thing as 33/4 minus 11 halves. With a common denominator, that's 33/4 minus 22/4, which equals 11/4 or 2 3/4 pounds. The dog is 2 3/4 pounds heavier than the cat. Number 4. Before refrigerators existed, some people had blocks of ice delivered to their homes. A delivery wagon had a storage box in the shape of a rectangular prism that was 7 1/2 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet. The cubic ice blocks stored in the box had side lengths of 1 1/2 feet. How many ice blocks fit in the storage box? To find the volume of the storage box, I multiplied 7 1/2 feet times 6 feet times 6 feet, and I got 270 feet cubed. Next, I need to find the volume of the ice block. 1 1/2 times 1 1/2 times 1 1/2 is the same as 3 halves times 3 halves times 3 halves, which equals 27/8. The volume of each ice block would be 27/8 feet squared. So now we need to see how many ice blocks could fit into the storage box. 270 divided by 27/8, which is the same thing as 270 times the reciprocal of 27/8, and that equals 80. You can fit 80 ice blocks in the storage box. Number 5. Fill in the blanks with 1/1000, 1/10, 10, or 1,000, so that the value of each quotient is in the correct column. In the close to 100th column, I put 1/10 divided by 9 and 12 divided by 1,000. In the close to 1 column, I put 1/10 divided by 12/100ths and 1/8 divided by 10/100ths. In the greater than 100 column, I put 1,000 divided by 1/3 and 700 7/10 divided by 1,000ths, or divided by 1/10. Number 6. A school club sold 300 shirts. 31% were sold to 5th graders, 52% were sold to 6th graders, and the rest were sold to teachers. How many shirts were sold to each group? 5th graders, 6th graders, and teachers. Explain or show your reasoning. I was able to make this chart with the information that they gave me. They told me that they sold 300 shirts, so I know 100% of the shirts is 300. 50% of 300 would be half of 300, or 150 shirts. 10% of 300 would be 30. 1% of 300 would be 3. To find 2%, I just doubled the value for 1%, so I doubled 3 and I got 6. To find 20%, I just doubled the value for 10%. I doubled 30 and I got 60. Now I'm able to use this chart to see how many shirts were sold to 5th graders, 6th graders, and teachers. First, the 5th grade. Since 31% of the shirts were sold to 5th graders, I needed total 31%. I added up the value for 20%, 10%, and 1%, giving me 31%. And those values were 60 shirts for 20%, 30 shirts for 10%, and 3 shirts for 1%, totaling 93 shirts. 93 shirts were sold to the 5th graders. Next, I used the chart to figure out how many shirts were sold to the 6th graders. Since 52% of the shirts were sold to 6th graders, I added up the value for 50% plus the value for 2%. That would be 150 shirts plus 6 shirts, equaling 156 shirts. 156 shirts were sold to the 6th graders. In order to find out how many shirts were sold to the teachers, I needed to add up the number of shirts sold to the 5th graders and the 6th graders. 93 plus 156 equals 249 shirts sold to the 5th graders and 6th graders altogether. Next, I subtracted 249 shirts that were sold to the 5th and 6th graders from the total number of shirts sold, which was 300. 300 minus 249 equals 51. 51 shirts were sold to the teachers. Number 7. Jada has some pennies and dimes. The ratio of Jada's pennies to dimes is 2 to 3. A. From the information given above, can you determine how many coins Jada has? No, they didn't give us enough information. She could have had 2 pennies and 3 dimes, or 4 pennies and 6 dimes, or any other set of numbers that is equal to a 2 to 3 ratio. B. If Jada has 55 coins, how many of each kind of coin does she have? Across the top, I have pennies written in blue, and across the bottom, I have dimes written in red. Since the ratio is 2 to 3, pennies to dimes, I started out with 2 pennies and 3 dimes, then 4 pennies and 6 dimes, and I continued this pattern until I ran out of room. Fortunately, I had just enough space for the 22 pennies and the 33 dimes, because 22 pennies added to 33 dimes equals 55 coins. C. How much are her coins worth? 22 pennies is worth 22 cents, and 33 dimes is worth $3.30. The total value of all her coins is $3.52. Congratulations! You have completed Unit 4, Lesson 16, Solving Problems Involving Fractions.